Okay, we're going to get started. Hope everybody's having a good day so far today. You can listen to my full drasha or read my full drasha. That email came out a little bit earlier today, but I didn't want to break our cycle. I wanted to share Rashi with you today. And actually, on the advice of this group earlier this week or last, I will share two Rashis today so that we don't lose out Shvi. I'll do one Rashi from Shishi and one Rashi from Shvi. So even though it's Friday, we will do both day 6 and day 7, Aliyah 6 and Aliyah 7. So first Rashi, two interesting Rashis today. First Rashi is at the end of the 6th Aliyah. We know the story of the bris between Avram and Avimelech occurs in this Aliyah. They make a covenant with each other. Avimelech is able to see that Avram is a rising force in the area, that his children one day would be a powerful force in the area, and therefore he decides to make this covenant. Even though Yitzchak is only young at this time, he hasn't asserted himself. Avimelech knew that the progeny of Avram would take on that role, and therefore they make that peace treaty. After the peace treaty, Avraham goes back to Beersheba, and the pasuk says, "Vayita Eshel bi Beersheva, vayikra sham b'shem Hashem kel olam." Much to say about this pasuk. A lot of interesting pieces, especially the name that he uses for God, kel olam. But in the end of the day, it says, Vayita Eshel bi Beersheva. That's the famous part of the pasuk. Avram goes back and he plants a tree, plants an Eshel, whatever an Eshel is, in Beersheva. Vayikra sham b'shem Hashem. And he calls out in God's name, he professes monotheism in that area. Rashi says, Vayita Eshel, quoting the Mamar Chazal, Rav u'Shmuel. There's a machlokes Rav and Shmuel about what exactly Avram planted over here. What is an Eshel? Chad Amar Pardes, Lahavi Mimenu Mine Peros Laorchem Besauda. One says it's a tree. An Eshel is a type of tree. It's a type of orchard that he planted in order to bring fruits into the home, into the tent, to feed to his guests, which he was greeting in the area. V'chad Amar Pundak, Lachsanya. One says its Eshel is not a tree, but rather an inn of some sort, a hotel of some sort. Ubo kol mine machal. And in that hotel, in that inn, he would serve lots of foods. And of course, it's an acronym. Eshel is Achila, Shtia, and Lina. If you go based on the second opinion that this was an inn, the word Eshel still makes sense over here because he provided in that Eshel, in that hut, in that inn, Achila, Aleph, food, Shtia, drink, and Lamed, Lina, a place to be able to sleep. Either way, over here, whether it's a hotel and an inn or a pardes, Avram did something after he settles in Beersheba to provide food. And the pasuk, according to Rashi, seems to connect the providing of food to the next piece of the pasuk, which is Vayikra sham b'shem Hashem kel olam, with calling out in God's name. Rashi explains the connection, Vayikra sham, al yedei oso eshel. Because of the Eshel, because of either the Pardes or the Pundak, either the orchard or the inn, because of the food he was able to provide in either one of those locations, he would call out in the name of God. After people would eat and drink at his place, he would say to them, why didn't you say a bracha to the one who provided you with this food? And therefore they would come to call out in God's name as well. I think there's a very interesting and powerful point to this Rashi, which is not at all obvious in the pasuk. You could have said the pasuk was saying two distinct things. Vayita Eshel, Beersheva, he settles in, and he's a big machnis orchim, and therefore he makes an Eshel and provides food. And the second thing he does, aside from achnasis orchim, is Vayikra sham b'shem Hashem. He calls out in God's name. But Rashi connects the two. He says it's dafka the hachnasas orchim with food that enabled him to be Vayikra b'shem Hashem, to call out in God's name. As he explains over here, he would entice them to eat, and after they eat, they would be told that they could call out and praise or thank the Creator who gave them that food. I think Rashi's point here is very important, and that is that food is something that brings us together as people. Food breaks down the barriers between people. Sharing a meal is something of great importance. In a way, it dissolves the differences between people. It opens people up to new ideas. As you see over here, Avram might have greeted strangers, total strangers, but once he gave them food, he had an in, not in a deceptive kind of way, but in an altruistic way. He had an in to be able to influence them in other ways, to be able to open their eyes to different kinds of ideas about God and monotheism that they may not have been open to before. So food is a very powerful influence. Unfortunately, these days we can't really share meals in the same way as we did before, or ever share meals at all. But one day we'll get back to that, and hopefully be able to utilize the sharing of a meal for these means as well. Okay, a Rashi very quickly from Shvi, from the next Aliyah, which I think is also very beautiful. The Shvi Aliyah begins in the famous way, the introduction to the Akedah, Vayhi achar hadvarim ha'ela va'elokim nisa es Avraham. God tried Abraham, God lifted Abraham with the experience of the Akedah that ensues. The whole experience begins with the travel from his home to Har HaMoriah, and the Pasuk describes it as Vayashkim Avram Baboker. It's not the first time we see Vayashkim. The idea of Hashkama is connected to tefillah, it's connected to mitzvah. It's not just a description of the time of the day, but Vayashkim is not just he got up early, but he got up early for a mitzvah purpose or a godly purpose, a tefillah purpose, baboker, in the morning. Vayachavosh chamoro, he saddled his donkey. Vayikach shnei ravito, he took his two lads with him, Yishmael and Eliezer, ve'ed Yitzchak beno, and Yitzchak his son. Vayivakat zeolah, vayakam ve'elcham makom asher amar Elohim. Get up, and they start to travel towards that designated place that God had told them about. So Rashi notes over here that Vayachavosh et chamoro, Avram was a wealthy man by this time. He clearly had ne'arim. He had lads who were supposed to serve him, supposed to accompany him, supposed to do the hard work. In fact, later when they get to Har HaMoriah, he leaves the donkey with these ne'arim. So they seem to be in some way in charge of the animals, in charge of the travel. And yet we see this wealthy, important man with servants go and saddle his own donkey. So Rashi says, why is he saddling his own donkey? He's answering that implicit question over here. Vayachavosh hu be'atzmo, he himself, right? The implicit question is why? Why he hu be'atzmo? Why he himself when others could have done this for him? Why? Because ahava mekakeles hashura. Beautiful expression here from the Medrash. Ahava mekakeles hashura. That love conquers all. Love breaks down all boundaries. Love makes us do things that we would never otherwise do. So Avram in this moment was so overcome with love for this mission, for this mitzvah, for the charge of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that even though normally you're right, on a normal day he wouldn't have saddled his own donkey. On a normal day he would have relied on his servants. But over here, Ava Makakelas Hashura. It pushed him beyond the shura, beyond the boundaries, out of his own boundaries, to do something beyond his norm, beyond his self, beyond his normal parameters or box. And that's a beautiful idea as well that I think we can contemplate over Shabbos, that love is a powerful force that can drive us to do all kinds of things, sometimes crazy things, sometimes uncalled for things, sometimes weird things, and sometimes beautiful things. But love does have a way of pushing us beyond ourselves, and that's something we can think about, both in the context of our love for Hashem, the relationship with Hashem, as well as the context of our love and relationship with others as well. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, a wonderful Shabbos ahead, and looking forward to joining you all again next week. Take care.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Again,
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbos. Again, you
Thank you, Rabbi.
listen
Shabbat
to,
shalom.
listen to
Shabbat
the full
shalom.
drasha on your own. Thank you. Take care, everyone.